pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Having read the minutes of the previous meeting, no objections or corrections to the reading of the minutes, stand as read. So ordered. Well, forgot mine again. Okay, I think Vicky's got something going on, so I want to kind of get her taken care of tonight. She's taking care of her mom, so. But,
Thank
you got
you.
Vicky.
Okay, this is Kevin, okay, I'll probably say it wrong, Schneider. He's from GIS, he's an engineer with GIS mapping, the Beacon Schneider Company, about our overlays and all the information for our office to be online.
And what I did is met with the assessor's office here at the courthouse a couple different times. We talked about Beacon, which is our product, real quick, and I'm not going to go into a whole sales pitch on Schneider Corporation, but we're, like Vicki said, we're a civil engineering firm to celebrate our 50th anniversary this summer, so we've been around a long time. I'm one of our civil engineers there. We do civil engineering, and then another huge part of our business is the GIS that we do actually. And we're based out of Indianapolis, but do it all over the state of Indiana in about 10 or 12 different states. What Beacon is, it basically is an electronic portal that sits on top of your existing data. It's not just for GIS. It pulls information from the assessor's office, the auditor's office. It has a mapping element, so you can see the information on the map. It's actually very similar to what the county already has in the way of online GIS mapping. It's just much more robust. It has a lot more features. We made Beacon available to all 92 counties a couple years ago. But we made it basic because we didn't have the county's information. We just had the information that's supplied to the state. So we took that information, made it available, and it's now become a point where like Vigo County's customers, Hendricks, Putnam's a brand new customer, Gibson County. But in and around Sullivan County during one of the meetings, some people, I think actually real estate agents had come in here, title companies, and they were upset because they got online to Beacon, because they use Beacon so much, that they, what the county's data wasn't being updated in Beacon. Well, the reason is because Beacon wasn't, or Sullivan County wasn't a customer of ours yet. So there's people all over the state and the country using Beacon to pull Sullivan County's information already. This would just give that information. We would be able to pull your GIS data that you've already had and created. It would pull that GIS data into it. It would pull the most recent data. It would be updated every night. And title companies, research, for tax sales and appraisers and everything would be able to get on there and look up the information. Now, what we proposed was originally a 3-year contract. We're going to match your existing service, your online service. When we have what we call, for lack of a better term, a competitive upgrade, because you're using one of our competitors, we waive our setup fee and then we match their pricing. Setup fee is usually $6,000 to $10,000. That's where our super smart people back in Indianapolis get everything working. That's really the best way to describe it. But we're going to go ahead and waive that, and we're going to go ahead and match the WTH price. The county is already set up to renew with WTH. The county attorney,
No,
county,
no,
or
HR.
Or
It
HR.
was, the
Okay.
council.
Okay. Yes, looked it over, and WTH is already renewed for another year, so we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to make it a 4-year contract, and then the first year there's not going to be a cost, and then that first year is going to be spread out over years 2, 3, and 4. is the way we would do it.
So there's no additional cost, no price changing what's already been allocated for this year.
Yeah, we will be paying 4,800, but we get this year free. They're recouping it on those 3 years, but we get this year free. We don't pay them anything.
Right.
And then it all figures out to the same price.
Is this 4,800 a year?
Yes.
For years
We
2, 3,
didn't
and 4.
agree to that much money, I don't think, with WTH. They keep insisting that we owe $4,800.
No, it was 3,600 with them for 4 years. And you take 3,600 times 4 years, you come up with 14,000. I did it, 14,400, I think. I did it today. And this 4,800 will be times 3 years, even though we will have it 4 years.
And you feel like you'll get a better service here?
Right.
That's,
They've had a year to get ours completed, and they still have not got it completed, the other company.
When does WTH's contract expire?
Well, see, what it was, the second year, we were supposed to, it's an automatic sign, and it's about time to do it. So if we wanted to break the lease, or if they wanted to, we had to give them a 60-day notice. So we've already passed that deadline. So Kevin and them worked together to give us a free year, and then they can recoup it, 3 years, same amount of money.
Now, WTH is still insisting that we owe them money. What is it?
WTH is?
Yeah, they were.
Are they?
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
have
if
not,
you remember 2 or 3 meetings ago, they come in here, or somebody wrote a letter, more or less
Ann?
demanding that we pay them more
was it
money.
Ann Yakum?
They have, remember that letter they sent?
Yeah, I have.
I've never seen any letter.
Well, what-
Do you remember?
We've already paid them what
We paid
had they had coming to
when we
them.
signed it.
3,600 was all they were supposed to get paid.
Well, they're demanding more.
Nobody told me
But if
anything.
they're not meeting their end of the bargain, I don't think you need to renew with them next year. I'd be demanding the money back.
Well, it said 60 days, so I didn't know what to do.
Well, have they not got us operable?
To a certain point, but not what they said they were gonna get. They were gonna have all the property record cards and everything ready to go within 2 weeks. And that was last year when we signed with them. And she's been here once or twice since then and keeps telling us, they're doing it, we're gonna have it done by a couple of weeks, and that was about 6 months ago. As far as I know, it still is not operable, not completely, not what we contracted them for. They did not ever get it completed.
Why don't you give me a copy of that contract? And why don't you give me a copy of that letter?
Well, what I'd like to do, let's table this, but I'm interested in switching just
Yeah,
because they're not in and that,
that's,
doing what they're saying they did.
Yeah, I'll go
I'm
ahead.
gonna give you,
Can we,
because there have been,
oh, there's the, you want to switch and go ahead and start the process?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead
And
and,
then that, because we got the same deal here.
yeah, and then we'll get a free year out of it because we'll get them to pay the money back.
Yeah.
And I'll never say anything bad about what is our competition. I actually used to work for WTA several years ago. They have a great niche. They're excellent in 911 public safety. We really specialize in kind of land management side of it, the internet side of it, so this is our strength.
Now,
You want to make a motion?
yeah, I will make a motion that we go ahead and enter in a new agreement with these folks and look into what we can do with getting our money back to WPH for this year here.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, buddy.
Thank you
Gonna have
very
it set
much.
up in how many days?
Yeah.
Well, it was set up yesterday. Tyler, that's right. Tyler Techs, who you work with, we work with them, probably a couple dozen of counties. Sullivan's the only county in Indiana. I know Vicki was concerned about that. They do a bunch of work in Iowa. We do all the work in Iowa, so we're very familiar with them. Probably be a month.
No?
I was gonna say, it's not gonna be up and running at 8 o'clock in the morning when they come in.
All right.
We'll try somewhere.
But really, for all they know, they still owe us this year.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, guys, I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
All right. Okay, John Elmore, you got anything? You got something, John? Okay, Alan Lukin, you got anything? We just will get you,
Okay, this is a humane shelter business again. We've got a contract for this coming year, and every year we try to come before you and try to get a 2-year contract. That's just the best way to operate. That way it gives you some continuity. And I'll leave these with you. When we, before we started the humane shelter, we came before the county commissioners for their support. If they couldn't do it, then we weren't going to build it. But they said they could, and so we built it, and you've supported us so far. We need that every year. It's a big part of our budget. We take in almost 2,000 stray and unwanted or surrendered dogs every year. We're a partner with PetSmart Charities, and they pick up 35 to 60 dogs a month. They go to Wisconsin, Minnesota, different places like that. We have them vaccinated and everything for them. They pay us $50 for that. Pretty well covers our cost on it. But anyway, that's over 1,200 animals since we've opened up that they have taken and didn't have to put sleep because they weren't adopted. We've taken in almost 6,000 animals since we opened a few years ago. That's a lot of animals that aren't on your streets, in your backyard, or chasing your cat or dog or kid. We assist the sheriff's office and the state police with people that hoard or have animal cruelty cases. We do animal welfare checks where somebody calls up, neighbors, you know, their dog's tied out in the sun, they don't have any food, they're starved to death. We are with a spay-neuter group in Bloomington, so if you want to have an economical spay-neuter, you can bring it up to the shelter by appointment and get it done at Bloomington. They bring it back the next day. That's a big savings for a lot of people that are in need. We're a food pantry for some people that they're in need and they need some pet food. All the animals that get out of there are vaccinated and spayed, microchipped and defleed. We have a lot of the school kids come through in their class trips, and we show them the shelter, give them a little lesson on animal care and taking care of things. And we have a lot of people from Scark and Four Rivers come up. Sometimes they fold papers, sometimes they walk the dogs, sometimes they just play with the cats. But they're a big help in a way. They always have a caregiver with them. So these are some of the things we do. Costs a lot of money to run the shelter up there, and we provide the county and its communities with all the programs and benefits that you receive by having this shelter, and we need your continued support. I just wanted to update you on everything. We adopted out 558 animals this year, and 727 went up north. If this county could get a mandatory spay-neuter ordinance, with the exception of the breeding animals or the animals that were ill or ill health, and they couldn't be spayed or neutered, boy, it would cut your problems in half. That's why they don't have any strays, a lot of animals in the shelters up in those places, because they have good, strict spay-neuter ordinance to keep the strays down. And I do some relief work over at Robinson, and they have a spay-neuter league over there. These are some ladies that work with cats. They hardly have a cat in that shelter over there because they catch them, they spay and neuter them, and then take them back out. And I think the lady told me they've done over 6,000 in the last couple of years. Dr. Trimble just charges them about $40 or $50. They raise the money for that spay-neuter. Works out great. Fact is, we're overloaded with cats, so if any of you need a cat, we have some. All right, any questions?
Did the rescue wagon go out Saturday morning, or do you know?
I rode
I seen a small van type
Yeah.
truck up
I
there
don't
Saturday
know.
morning.
I wrote health certificates for 27 head the other night, you know, that they were going somewhere, but I'm not sure. I turned 70 here in the spring and retired and trying to,
Doing more now than you ever did, aren't you? Volunteer work gets you.
I donated over 1,000 spades and neuters for them, and then I try and take care of my grandkids and kids now.
You was asking for a 2-year agreement, or?
Yeah, yes, we just want you to,
Okay.
that way it keeps us, give us some continuity.
Index it to that in case we.
Any questions or anything?
I have no questions whatsoever.
Eva,
Yeah.
proceed.
I don't know what the percentage was.
But that's the only thing I was concerned with. The contract just states 50,000 in nominal terms. I think it would be good to reserve 50,000 or whatever percentage we agreed on and edit whichever's less. That way, in case we have a drop in our edit revenues.
I think last year you paid us more.
Right.
Yeah, a little bit more. Instead of saying less, go with that or more, whichever's agreement. Because it's, I mean, all shelters fight a budget.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a fight, and some of them go under because they can't. And like that, 6,000 animals running around this county, that's a lot of animals. If they have to
I
be
think
taken
with
care
the edit, the way the edit was figured, that with what we had figured was gonna come out right at 50,000, and I think it done a little better. So we probably got a little extra money.
If we
And-
call Cliff on next year or so,
of. Okay.
let's read the.
Yeah,
move
I'll make a
forward.
motion to
Okay.
negotiate the contract with them.
Just accept it.
Thank you, appreciate that.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Do you still have your membership program?
Okay.
I don't know, I've retired from it, I don't know what I do, welcome to join.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask about sending out these things for the boards, the different boards. Is it
Yeah.
okay to
Yes.
send them
Yeah.
out? And then we need the bills signed.
Okay, need a motion to pay
I'll
the
make a
claims.
motion we pay the
I will
claims.
second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Just to pay the bills.
Also, I forgot to bring this up last meeting, Twyla Ashby has interest on the tourism board.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
got
approved
her
it.
letter.
See,
Oh, we did.
We did that.
I got here with that.
Yeah, you're, we
Okay,
approved that.
all right.
This page.
You got anything else?
When I change clothes, I didn't get it.
That's it.
Okay.
That's
You got anything?
I need your signature.
all I got.
Okay.
It's actually in your.
What's that?
It's the sign off.
That's the Humane Society's
Oh,
agreement.
the agreement, okay.
And have it in.
Or you need my signature or not?
Wait, you say, dude.
That's fine.
You got anything?
Yeah, the only thing I am worried about is that bill we got at the landfill. I'd like to give him the authority to move forward with litigation if we need to on that.
Yeah.
I'd like to maybe reach him with a letter or something first and
Yeah.
give him the authority to move forward
I
with
agree.
litigation.
I agree too.
About 50 grand.
That's good. Anything else?
That's the only thing I have to say.
You got anything, John?
Yeah, I'd like to have Pat come up here and, in the military, it's an honor to get a coin from somebody for a job well done. And Pat's been in here and volunteered his time, all this and everything. So I'm gonna give you, I don't have a commissioner coin, but I got a coin from my unit at the Air Guard, okay? It's a C. Burney Enhanced Response Air Force Package, and I'd like to give it to you. I think that's-
You're right. Anything else?
No, that's all I've got.
Okay.
You got it?
They do anything with that road in there?
Um,
I don't think.
I was wanting to talk, we got two commissioners, new commissioners coming in here tonight, next year. Something I need to talk about. We did a jail study this last summer, and they give you like 3 options of what you can do. And I've talked to them several different times, but the last time I talked to them, which was last week or two, just over stuff, but our jail population is actually down, which is a good thing. And we're running like in the 80s at one time, and high 80s, and now last week it was in the 50s. I think it was a 44 bed at one time. They got it changed around where there's boosted up. So really, as far as any kind of emergency situation, I don't really think we're in an emergency situation, but 2 things is the reason why the jail population is down. One is we started the in-home detention program, which we got a lot of people home on in-home detention. I sat on that board. And it's been a good program. And the other one is we're putting people in places for substance abuse, and getting some help that way instead of just sitting at the jail. And one thing that we got the Luke House here in Sullivan, and we didn't get this on the budget this year, but it's just something that it just come to me, and I hope that you guys consider next year putting a line item in the commissioner's budget for the Luke House and for some sort of funding, because the Luke House actually has been a part of keeping our population down at the jail, and them kind of programs is a good program. But I wanted to tell you guys that we didn't put a line item in the budget. I wish I talked to Roy Monroe earlier and asked him for some paperwork, and me and him's talked about it a couple times, but I should have spent a little more time on it. But when I did doing this jail study and stuff and got this information, a lot of this has come to help us. So those kind of things might saving us some money that we don't recognize, and I think we need to recognize them. So
Yeah, I bet for every $1 you give to Luke House, we probably save 2 or 3.
probably right. So I mean, it's something I think we need to look at, or you guys need to look at next year or something. That I think it's a worthwhile thing. And you always hear bad stories, but there's some success stories, and them's the ones that we need to dwell on, is the success stories. So I wanted to pass that information on. Another thing, we had a handrail down there, and I talked to John about it down here to the emergency management building that we didn't get put up, and we're getting that built. Same guy that did our handrail here in the courthouse. And we got a roof project down there, but we're not, I think we're just kind of looking at patching the roof down there. And it's gonna be like $500. But next year, I think we're probably looking at putting a roof on down there, recoating it, so to speak. And that might be a project, but something to pass on for you to think about. But other than that, that's all I got. And we'll go on to any old business. Is there any old business? Yeah.
I guess I have. You were supposed to have some information for me tonight.
And I don't think we have that information. I just had leaned over there and asked Jane if she had heard anything on it. He's working on a quote, but we don't have it.
Why am I not surprised? So in other words, I made a trip for nothing tonight. Is that what?
Yeah, go ahead. You got her hand up.
I'd like to ask 2 questions of the commissioners. I was hoping Benji was here, but to also address. But the first question is, since 2010, since Luke was elected. Or just before Luke was elected. And Tim and Rose put their big deal in with the mine, and you didn't sign it. And the mine started coming in, the money from the mine started coming in. One road has been fixed down in Jefferson Township, just here recently, 800 South. Half of the road, I'll put it that way, half of the town road. But it hasn't been finished, and that's what I wanted to ask Benji about, when it was going to be finished. 800 South. They started on it, and it does look nice, but it hasn't been finished. And that's what I was going to ask Benji, but if he's not here, so maybe one of you three can answer that. And the other question, or comment I wanted to make, this was Jefferson Township in 1899. All of these people lived in Jefferson Township. All of these people paid taxes into Sullivan County. And as of 2010, this many people lived in Jefferson Township. And these big squares are owned by the mine. I know most of you don't give a hoot. It's now labeled Midwest Coal of Indiana. Coal now, the mine company has gotten wise and separated the two. The mining company operates under one name, the coal operates under another name. There's very little land left in Jefferson Township. And there are very few roads left open down there. Because when they come in here and ask for roads to be closed, they don't open roads anymore. Here a few months ago, Ed Powell made the comment that they were going to close 750 South. That is a main artery running east and west. People down there will have no road to run east and west on unless they drive up to Bucktown and run over a very bumpy road and then drive back down 600. Yes, you're shaking your head because you know it, Luke. East. But most people and most commissioners don't care because they don't live down there. Or if they drive south and go down to the Knox County line. And you agreed with me that the county line should be blacktopped. Or, according to paraphrase you, Tim, you didn't care if Jefferson Township was blown off the face of the earth. But then, where would all of your good money come from to play with in the rest of Sullivan County? You just blacktopped 200 East, Longs Chapel Church Road, and a few other roads. But you have only done part of one road in Jefferson Township, where all the money is coming from. Now tell me how you can really
600 East was
substantiate
blacktop last year.
that. Which road?
600 East, down to the
Well,
Indian Prairie church.
It was about time, but that's because the miners were coming up 900 and driving that road up
Had
to
nothing to
600
do with that.
south.
Had nothing to do with that.
Jackson Road and
Huh?
Township.
They had closed all the roads east over there.
Not mixed with-
That wasn't done, had no, nothing to do
And
with
there was
the mine
nothing
running
else
that
to
road.
drive on. There was nothing else to drive on. And the mine is trying to get Indian Prairie Church now, and if they do, they will close 900 south
I thought
all
they
the way
already bought it.
over west.
I thought they already bought it.
No, they
haven't
haven't.
bought it yet?
No, they haven't, John.
I had heard they did.
Yes, you have heard it, but they haven't bought it.
It'll just be a matter of a few years till that 600 south's gonna be ripped up anyway.
And it will be ripped up.
I mean, it's gonna be ripped up because
And you agreed with me.
the coal company has
And
struck,
600 east.
a deal with the Indian Prairie Church, but it hasn't been put into writing
Right.
yet. So, but yeah, it's just a matter of time till that new blacktop.
All of them over there's gonna be tore out.
Well, the ones that I'm talking about ain't.
And there's still one person down there who has not and will not sell. So they have to leave a road open. It's a gravel, crappy road. Very crappy gravel road. And you agreed with me that 500 should be blacktop.
Yeah, that
South,
sections of 500 are
Yep.
getting pretty abysmal down
Should
toward
be.
Knox County.
to give the people
And
something
a lot of
to
that,
drive
is
on.
not gonna be stripped.
There are people
Yeah, a lot
still
of them
living
roads
down
down
there.
there needed to be repaired.
Well, a lot of them that need to be repaired, we shouldn't spend the money on because they're not gonna be here in a decade, but
That's
like,
the north side of it.
but the north side of it, we shouldn't even bother with, because I mean, we could get by, but that south side going into Freelandville is pretty,
There are people who still live
Pretty
down there,
ratty.
believe it or not, and they still drive down there. I know you don't give a hoot about them, but they pay taxes from down there, and money comes from down there that you still use from down there to play with up here. I know you two are leaving as of December the 31st, but you've had your fun up till then. Do something for the people who did elect you and the taxpayers down there, and put some of that money back down there. And quit kissing the mine's ass.
You got anything else?
Nope.
one thing I'd like to see, which it's kind of, it's relevant, but it's irrelevant. And Benji did that, did you get that list that Benji did of all the roads that's real bad, what he thought was the worst? And I think that was a good idea to list that. But one thing I'd like, and Benji didn't have time to mess with it, but I wish we'd take about $4,000 or $5,000 of this money and dedicate it, or maybe 10, and have like some type of a study done on where we could get the very most money in terms of,
He's doing that right now, Luke.
Yeah.
He's doing an inventory of all your roads.
yeah, but I realize he's doing an inventory, but,
But I mean, he's listing the ones in the order that they need repair.
right, but I'm talking about economic development, because there's a lot of roads that, no matter how nice and how blacktop they are running across property that nobody's ever gonna let go of and nobody's ever gonna improve. I'd like to see a study that's kind of geared more toward assess valuation. And, you know, not necessarily that we have to stick to it or future generations have to stick to it, but just for our information, it's worth $10,000 probably to know where you get the most bang for your buck.
You know, for years, they spent every dime down there, back down into that area. They went down in there, the roads, they paved the roads down there, the around areas down in there that the coal mines put back. And they did it within a 5-year period, and they're hilly and everything from the settlement. Because they're supposed to wait so many years to blacktop.
The coal company put that back, didn't they?
No, No, the commissioners, they agreed, they wanted to put back, but.
Right, but I mean, Peabody paid for it.
Yeah,
Peabody paid for it. It didn't come out of,
hold on.
it didn't come out of road closure money. It come out of putting the road back, and they wanted it back at the end of 5 years. The commissioners did, instead of waiting until it settled a little bit more. So they had this. But there's a lot of that road down there now where I'm talking about, for example. That's been over 20 years. That, since they've been through there.
But there's a lot of money here that went down in there that,
Where?
Well, that 700 East is what you're talking about. It's really bad, but you know what? To be real honest, they waited the 5 years when they blacktopped that.
they didn't go back and level it up or.
No, they leveled it up and they even let it settle 5 years. But what they did when they blacktopped it, that road, it was a good idea and I think it was very well intentioned, but it didn't get any results because they never did let loose of that property. And kind of at that time, they were talking about letting loose of that property. So it ended up, we had a blacktop road that nobody was ever going to let loose.
Nowhere.
It was a road to nowhere, basically, as a nice road.
But that was what the people in Jefferson all voted for and wanted.
That's right, they wanted.
No, they didn't.
Yes,
They
they
didn't
did.
want that. They didn't want 700 East Blacktop. They wanted the rest of the roads where people lived on and traveled on.
Debbie, if you go back and look, the people came in here, the Hales and everyone, and they
The
all
Hales
said,
wanted it, and they were the only ones that wanted it.
Yeah.
And everyone else. I wrote a
Courtroom was-
petition for it.
well, you might have had the petition, but the courtroom was full, and that's what the people in Jefferson
And the
wanted.
Hales wanted it because they wanted the hunting rights right off of that piece of ground. They wanted the hunting rights on that
Well, what's
pond.
most important here is we have took money that we negotiated for a road. The road goes back, that particular road. You talk about getting, now hold on, man, hold on just a minute. We take a section of road, it goes back to original status. So you're not losing anything. But the money that we get off the road, we put it into blacktop. And yes, we have put it in areas where people needs it. Because Ray was in there, I think he lost $1 million on roads or something right before you got out. You knew you was gonna lose a lot of blacktop money. So we knew we was not gonna have much money to work with. So we come up with this formula to try to take up the slack.
You're
But
right.
you're not losing, you've not lost anything. Whenever that road goes back, it goes back the same way.
Well, you haven't lost from the last 2 years, or since you implemented this new policy.
Yeah.
I mean, historically, the
But
township has
it's,
lost.
but you know,
When you say
what happens down there as far as people and buying and selling, we have no control over that. I mean, you show these maps of what used to be and what is today, we have no control over
We
it.
didn't sell it.
We didn't sell it.
You're right. Ray was sitting right where you are, and 700 East was a perfectly fine gravel road. And the mine wanted to put it back as a blacktop, and so did Hales. And I wrote the petition, and we went around and got signatures for the people who had the sense enough to put it out on 600, who knew that was a crappy road because the culvert was falling in right south of Bob Jackson's, and said, use that money out here where it needs to be used, where people drive. They didn't drive on 700. That was a gravel road. It was perfectly fine. And 700 looks just like it looks like today. They didn't wait 5 years. It goes like this. And they did just like what they did. I called you on the phone and I said, John, what are they doing over there? They're cutting a big old swath through the middle of it and making that's a county road. And they went over there and they cut a haul road through it. And they didn't have permission for it. And you didn't have any idea what they were doing. You went over there and you asked Dick. And you called me back. And you said, well, we're almost done. So I guess that's okay.
But back to
On
his
a county
particular
road.
road, that is that road there and the road that Mary lives on, the county line road, is really, you'd be hard pressed to find 2 other roads, Blacktop and Jefferson Township, after you do them too. That's, to be real honest, you could do that short section from Freelandville 2 miles north that road and that road Mary lives on, and you'd be hard pressed to find a road to Blacktop in Jefferson Township that's not gonna be tore up.
That's right. That's absolutely right. But you can't get from 159 west without crossing a haul road unless you go up and around, come through Duggar and around, or go over and hit Sanborn and go around through Phelanville. Otherwise, there is no road west on anything east of 159. There's no good roads west. I mean, it's just that way. And if it, a little bit of help on some of that road down there, we may have to drive out of our way some. We might have to drive 2 or 3 miles further, but at least we'll have a better road to drive on. And that's my concern. And I'm very familiar with what happened here a few years ago. It could have been done different, but it wasn't.
What's that?
We were talking about that 700. Yeah, there was some money spent there. Peabody spent it. But at that very time,
Well, they did 350 too, which had been.
I was trying to get them to blacktop this 800. Then, if they blacktop that road and Peabody would pay for it. But it was no, that's not good enough road. It's been undermined. They sat right over there and told me that. This was a few years ago. So no, they wouldn't do it then. This has been, what, 8 years ago, whatever it was. Couldn't do it. So they put it on a road that didn't go no place.
After 600 south.
But anyway, that's,
You got something, Ray?
Yeah, Tim, I just want to go on record as saying that if you'll check the minutes, I voted against Blacktop in 700 East. You know, that's the way it was. And it cost Sullivan County $75,000 because they were going to blacktop 600 East. But they pulled that money out. And the people from Jefferson, maybe you didn't, but the majority of them that came to the meeting that night asked that road be blacktopped. And I told them then, I said, that's going to the new tipple. You realize that, don't you? Oh, that ground will never be mine. Never mind that ground. And I said, yeah, they would.
The first thing you said, though, you said, well, how about some of that money for Cass Township? And
No,
I
didn't.
said, no.
No, I didn't. Never did.
Yeah.
Not one time did I ever say that. What happened, Dick Watkins came to me and said, here is a road that we will fix and it will make
It's a serious
people
problem
happy.
down there.
And I said, okay.
Mansell Roberts was over
Dick
the mine.
Watkins.
Yeah.
He was representing the mine at that time,
Check your
Mansell
facts.
Roberts.
there's nothing anybody can do what's happened in the past.
No,
past.
that's
Yeah.
right.
All the
Let's
nails
walk-
were in
let's walk
here that
further.
night. and they
Let's
brought
look at where's a
people
good
from
place to put this
Pleasantville
money,
who didn't know
good place to
diddly
put
squat
some
about what
roads
was going on.
that'll help everybody.
Because we're
They
looking
wanted to
And-
first
I'd
hunting
say we'll
permits
probably
over
get
there on
at the rate we're
700.
charging
That's
now,
why
that's
they brought
probably
him in
$12
here.
million.
That's why they were for it. That's
And
why
I
they wanted
and I
to
told
black
the
on.
people that
But we're going to
it
have that
was
done
such a good deal,
like
so
Benji's on
then
this,
give the
but
county
we can use that.
An acre
We can
on
do
each
some,
side
we
of
can
the
do
road.
these roads as they come.
depth.
But the mine
And they
had
said
both
that we
sides
were-
of the road,
They
from
did,
700
exactly.
all
They
the
went
way
both sides, and
to,
I
from
said, well, they don't
750
do
all the way to
And let us
600.
develop it, and they wouldn't
They
do it.
wouldn't do it.
Well,
Because
folks,
they were going to put a new tip.
They had all the roads, they had all the land in, and they still have it now. They're tearing it up now.
we're gonna move on, Debbie. Table this and talk about next meeting, I guess. We got some new business with you folks tonight. Okay.
But we're still not gonna get anything done, are we?
Hello. I'm with SRI.
Mhm.
We do your tax sale.
We're not gonna get anything down there.
What I am giving you is a list of it's just on the back of the list.
We're not gonna get
The 124 county held certificates that didn't sell in the annual tax sale. And what we're proposing to do is to have another tax sale for you. It's called the Commissioner's Certificate Sale. I know you've had one a couple years ago. They're typically more successful in being taken to deed than an annual tax sale, usually over 50%. And there are two main differences between this, a commissioner's sale and an annual tax sale. That is, their redemption period is only 120 days, and the commissioners would set the minimum bid. And the fee for SRI is different as well. Unlike a normal tax sale, we would just be charging the 15% of the winning bid.
Laura, what's it cost to do title work on these on average, probably?
$250.
So would that be a good place to start the minimum bid, or would we start it?
Well,
What would you
the county's
suggest?
not paying the title search work, just so you understand that.
We're not
What John has
guaranteeing
done
any.
and what they're talking about is a little bit two different things.
Right, so it's not a commissioner's deed sale, it would be a commissioner's certificate sale.
Okay.
So the county wouldn't have to do any of the title search work or the noticing.
I do have a question
what-
though. I looked the last time you had one of those sales, and there
Yeah.
were 125 parcels listed,
Uh-huh.
and I only found 6 that were sold.
You know, I wasn't with SRI at the time.
I checked that out. Brenda, is
yeah.
that correct? 6 out of 125?
That's because
Sure.
I don't think it was well advertised at all. We didn't even know about it till, I think Beth saw it in the paper.
I'll tell you what, I'd like to see us do, like, I've seen a lot of these counties have online that is just
Sure.
ongoing all the
Yeah.
time, where we don't have like an actual sale date, you can just log on
Right,
anytime if you want to buy
right.
one, just go for it.
That's one of the things that I proposed. What was really successful for Putnam County is that we had a live sale on Wednesday, then we started an online sale on Friday that lasted 10 days. They got a lot more sold that way. Union County had 4 commissioner sales in a row and got rid of all of their certificates. So it's really county to county.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about getting the money, right?
Well, I just want to turn it back on to private, where people pay the taxes.
And but I want to talk about that for a minute. When we did these 12 properties here in town, it's not about money as it is for assessed evaluation. Because we got a lot of property that somebody comes in and buys it on the internet. He don't never do anything with it, just sits there. So the neighbor's got the same eyesore he had 2 years ago, okay? Yeah, the county may have got more money, but we got a guy in Texas buying property or whatever, use that for example, and he just buys property and it don't change the assessed evaluation in our county. Now, when we talk about assessed evaluation, I'm not a professional at this at all, but all I know is what I've learned is we clean up these properties. That's what we're after. That's why we did these 12 things. We got these properties cleaned up, paperwork, and we're hoping that somebody comes in here, Luther or whoever, and they buy them and they live here in this county. I can't keep people from coming and bidding on something, and we got a guy that does that, and he never does anything with his properties. But if we got people comes in here and buys them, and then they do something with them, the neighbor's guy's house is worth a little more money. Now that, or the town assessed evaluation is up and worth more money. That's where we're at. And that's why I personally and totally is against putting it on the internet, is because that's gonna create the same thing that we're fighting with those 12 properties that we're trying to get off the ground, so to speak.
And when you started this thing, you started it about a year ago. Now, what John was talking about was a different thing when taking title than what she's talking about.
It's different things.
It's
And
also,
I can understand that fear that someone from out of state, out of county is
And it
going
happens.
to. It does happen. It does happen. But what I can tell you is that the majority of these parcels will go to someone who wants to take deed. You know, just sitting in the audience at one of these sales, you're gonna. I mean, I almost never recognize the bidders, simply because investors don't want these parcels. Investors want the parcels where, you know, you're more likely to get the mortgage company to pay off that redemption. So that's the only difference. And you wouldn't have to maybe agree to both tonight either.
Yeah.
It will save you some money on advertising costs,
Yeah.
but.
and I know Luke's thinking about, you know, getting more people.
I'm just saying.
And that's good, but it goes against what I
But
believe what we're
the-
trying to
these
do.
towns tearing down assessed valuation isn't really good for tax revenues either. I mean, if we're looking at purely at a tax revenue standpoint, we're better off having somebody from Florida paying the taxes as a clean lot in town.
Well,
If you're just looking at purely on.
depends on if you got 4 or 5 kids and you live next to that piece of
Okay,
property.
now, let me ask you a question. Here in
I
Sullivan,
understand what you're saying too.
in Sullivan, houses are being torn down. Who's tearing them down?
Here, who's tearing them down?
Here in Sullivan.
Gary Stahl's tearing down some.
Okay, how much is it costing to tear each one of these houses down?
I have no idea.
And where does the house go when it gets torn down?
Landfill.
And is the landfill bill being paid?
Not currently,
Is the taxpayer getting it on both ends on that one?
no. I'd say so.
And where do you bid on the tear downs on these houses? I mean, is that,
I don't think it's something the county is.
We hadn't had any tear down houses.
It's not something the county is doing. The city might be engaged in.
You have to talk.
Well, how does the city get the property? If it goes on the county tax roll, how does the city get the property?
Well, I don't know.
They don't get the property, they're tearing it down because it violates city ordinances or it's been condemned by the city, but they don't necessarily get the property.
How are they doing this then?
Under their city municipal laws that allows them to tear down unsafe structures,
Who owns title to that land?
whoever the landowner
It's just like a sewer lien, it would be like a mechanic's lien, right? Something like that.
is. But the city can assess an assessment against it.
Sure, yeah.
And how's the city getting their money now?
Someday that they probably will foreclose on that land if we don't do it in the meantime. So the tear down of houses is being done by the city, not the county.
Right, and that's exactly what I think I said.
Yeah, and
But
that's
it's
because the
it's
city,
the process in which it's being done, and I think you know exactly what that is. You know, I guess you're entitled to your feelings also just as well as I am, but I question it.
the city has city ordinances to work with. The county doesn't. Now, like what we're talking about doing, SRI is doing something a little bit different with all these whenever they have their certificate sale than what we're doing.
Right, because what they're doing is they're coming along, they're giving the people a certificate of title on it, but what they're doing is they're researching the title.
It's the certificate to the lien.
Not for SRI.
No, with what John's wanting to do.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, Luther, I found out about a lot of these tax sales, these tax sale certificates. For example, they had approximately 125 in 2010 and only 6 sold. That's a batting average that not only will not get you in the Hall of Fame,
It's less than
it'll get you
6%.
voted right out of the papers.
Right.
Now, there can be a lot of reasons for that. Maybe such a thing that people aren't
I
informed
understand.
and don't know how to go about it. But I personally think one of the biggest things here is when people buy the certificate of tax sale. There's a lot of people that don't know the procedures to utilize to get title school.
You are 100% right, and one other thing they don't know is when they go to that auction, they don't know all the pitfalls and where they should be looking.
Right. And what they're gonna do is take property that did not sell at the, what was it, October, or into September,
October 3rd.
tax sale, and try to sell the county's rights to them in a certificate sale.
But
Wait, and that's fine and dandy, and I hope they sell every one of them. Except there may be a few in here that I'm gonna sell before you are. We petitioned for a total of 14 pieces of property to get tax title deeds to. They are properties that have been in 2 or more consecutive tax sales and have not sold. So it's a different requirement than what SRI is using to sell. And the primary reason why they haven't sold in those tax sales is the taxes are too darn high. No one in the right mind is going to buy it and pay the taxes on it.
absolutely right.
So what we're doing is we are going to take a tax title deed. In fact, the 30 days is up December 6th. That's Thursday on most of them, December 7th for the rest. So next week sometime, the county's going to be getting a tax title deed to 14 parcels of property. around the county. And we're taking title to them, not with the purpose of having a certificate sale,
A deed sale.
but we're just gonna have a deed sale. We're gonna have a public auction and auction them off. And I'll bet there's one piece of property you're here bidding on.
Yeah, I'm interested in one of them.
Yeah, I know, we've
That's where
talked
we
for
started
2
this a year
years.
ago.
But, and I've had others express interest in other pieces of property. I can say pretty comfortably right now, I know for a fact, 2 of those go to the town of High Mara, and of the 12 that's left, at least half are sold right now. Just depends on what the final price will be and whether or not anyone shows up to bid against them. But by passing it through the county's name, we're writing all the taxes off, just like a certificate of error would be written in the auditor's office.
That's only in a deed sale,
And-
right?
Yes, and that's how we differ from what they're doing. We aren't in competition with SRI, SRI's not in competition with us. We're doing 2 separate procedures here. It's just all this stuff about tax sales and real estate taxes is so mind-boggling, it sounds like all the same gibberish. But really, we're doing 2 separate things.
But from what I see you doing, I like the title a hell of a lot better than what they're doing. Now, I've only been to one of their auctions. And in watching that, I really do think you need to do your groundwork before you bid on one of those pieces of properties. And you correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, that's absolutely right. We put that information, you need to do your research before you bid. We put that information in a lien buyer handout. We say it before, and we say it several times. We, say the county offers no guarantees on these parcels.
Now, I've got one question for you. If you were gonna buy a piece of property, which deed would you rather have, his or the one your certificates you're gonna let him have?
If I'm not an experienced person, I would go for the deeds and side, all the research is spent
Now,
done for
if you didn't opt to go with the
But-
deed and you went with your certificate, wouldn't you want one hell of a price consideration?
I mean, sure, or not.
Well, and part of the problem, Luther, is when you get a certificate, if the certificate's sale, you gotta wait 120 days, file your petition for a tax title deed.
Right, with the 4
You gotta have the abstract run on it, whether it's by Bill and Delore or whoever. And most people have to have an attorney help them because there's just so many hoops to
And
jump
John,
through,
right now, I'm
including
guessing they
registered
do that
nurse.
all the time.
Amazing.
And how many
But when
times
you-
does it go wrong?
When you buy it from the county outright at a county sale, a deed sale, what you're calling it, you get title right then and there. The county's already jumped through all the hoops for you. You're just gonna reimburse the county X number of dollars for what they've spent out of their pocket to get all that done for
Then
you.
what do you suggest you do with these properties?
Oh, I think they should go ahead and sell them at the tax sale certificate.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna put you all out of misery, let's just,
But there's a few here that I'm gonna have sold here this month and next.
okay.
And
We can
won't be
take them
around when they're
Okay,
sold.
let's exclude those and move forward with scheduling a day for that, and you just name the date.
Oh, it's whenever they.
The Beth and Brenda both agreed on March 18th, I believe.
Is that kosher for
But
you?
you can still change it.
Yeah, we had it on the 14th, wasn't it?
Was it the 14th?
March 14th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's a
I'm
motion.
sorry. March 14th. Sorry.
I'm looking for property.
So it's on the 14th,
Okay.
What'd you say, March
14th.
Any other business?
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. My first question, I'll go back to, if the city and county supposedly kind of work hand in hand on numerous things, right? If you got somebody that owes you that much money, why are you not having the city take your money for the county landfill out of the payment to the person prior to, so you'll get your money?
That's a good idea.
Okay. Second, okay, that's the end of
Yeah, I
that
think
topic. My other is, who,
so we can't.
and I'm asking, I don't know, who owns or who put the roads in the Greenbrier subdivision? Is that county, was that supplied by Sullivan County, or who
I'm
did
just gonna
that?
guess on that, but I'd say when it was developed, the developer put it in and then he turned it over to the county years ago.
Okay, did Sullivan County put any money into that?
They have, yes, they blacktopped it 2 years
Okay.
ago.
And my other question is,
what are the feelings of you three or the two coming in here? How much money are you giving up to the annexation? And what, you know, what do you feel, if people of Sullivan County want you to keep them as Sullivan County, you know, why did we not do that? You know, we've let this annexation go into effect. You know, how much, you know, you guys feel like you did better because you got less roads to take care of, or what is your feelings, the three of you, on the annexation?
Well, first of all, when the city does the annexation, the county can't stop any of that. We can't put up a fight.
But you have an
But
opinion, you
yeah,
do own the road.
hold on. You probably missed that meeting, but I vocally said in here that I oppose annexation. Of that nature, how much it was. I'm not totally against annexation, but what I feel like they've done, I felt like they've done too much. I don't like the fact, you know, the county's gonna lose, I think, 20,000 a year, is that right? Might be, I can't remember the numbers. The school corporation is gonna lose like 40,000 a year, the paperwork I've seen. And I don't feel good about it because of the fact the county, we invested a lot of money on Section Street up there, and it took all of us. Here's the whole picture. I try to paint to people and they ask me. It took all of us to come together and collect enough dollars to develop Section Street. It took all of us. So now, when this annexation happens, you're going to have a smaller group of people to have to maintain all that. So the people that are already in town that probably think that annexation is good, they'll probably see in 4 or 5 years that it was not as good, in my opinion, because they're going to have to help maintain that area where the whole county was helping maintain. Now, there are sections of that, you know, that should probably been in the town years ago. You know, that's where I'm at with it. I'm just only one.
Really, the only upside that I can see is maybe the increased availability of utilities to some of the outlying areas. I know a lot of these properties are already serviced by utilities, but I think it's, you know, it would increase their ability to
But they
borrow
don't
money.
have to do that.
No, they don't have to,
It's
but-
just a plan.
Right, it's just a plan, but without that being inside city limits, it's gonna be difficult for them to obtain that type of money. And I think the city would probably they'd have a little better bargaining power than the county to take on that job because they have less money. So they can go into a situation and say, well, we'd like to do it, but it's a worthwhile project, but we don't have any money, where, you know, they want us to pony up. That's just, there's grants and stuff available probably to the cities with I don't know.
But if Tim's right, and the law of diminishing returns does set in the coming years, and they've got more roads to take care of with a fixed budget and so forth, I think they're gonna find it hard to expand with additional sewer lines and stuff like that because it's gonna be so expensive.
Okay, if as the Sullivan County Commissioners, you were asked to disagree on some of the roads that they are trying to take in, would you be willing to do that?
To like officially disagree?
Yes.
I think if you had a good enough argument, it'd be something to entertain, but I don't.
I'd have to look at the rules.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'd have to look at a map and all that. But no, I wouldn't.
Okay, but you would be willing to say that we have maintained these roads and we feel it would be to our best interest to keep them and we would do that?
Yeah, I think if the people in the area could make a strong enough argument, I think the strong argument should win out. regardless who the winner is.
Have you been to any of these annexation meetings and listened to the people talk?
Well, a few of them.
Or was it a stronger argument?
Well,
I'm not-
really, that's a all-inclusive question, you know, you're including all the plan. I think if you took a scalpel, cut through the plan, it might be,
I am not against annexation.
no, I'm not either, but
I am not against annexation. I am against the way it was taken in and the way they did the picking and choosing of what they took in. I am not against annexation. I'm not against the growth of the city and none of the above, but I am against the way it was taken in. And I would like for 300 to be kept within the county. And so would a lot of other people that's in this group for the paperwork. So that's my asking, and that's why I am asking.
what type of timeline do you guys have to work with?
We have a timeline of 90 days to get the signatures and so forth that we're required to get, and then it goes before court. 2 weeks is gone.
Well, I kind of felt like they bit off more than they could chew. It should have been chewing on, rather. I feel like that they're gonna wind up having, like Tim said, have trouble maintaining them roads. And,
But nobody can disagree, some of it is long overdue.
oh yeah, some of it is.
Definitely,
Yeah.
you know,
I just think they took too big a chunk. They should have expanded a little smaller, and then maybe a little bit more later, to see how they got along. But I guess when they drawed the line, they drawed it and said that's what we're going for, and that's what they did.
there wasn't no line.
John's making a motion to adjourn.
I can't vote on the phone, I'm adjourned.
Anybody got anything else?